June 22nd, 2007, day 28. Much the same as yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. We're still proceeding on a reach under working jib alone, with the tiller lashed. We're doing 2-hour watches through the night, making fair progress. Yesterday, we ran the engine for 4 hours, topped off our house bank batteries. We are proceeding as planned, as expected, making reasonable headway towards our destination, Cape Flattery. We are, of course, behind schedule, but hey, you know, things happen.
Still sick, Chuck?
Still sick, Chuck, yeah. Yesterday afternoon, a wave of nausea swept over me once again. And I, intermittently feel okay or not okay, depending. At least I'm not curled up with a bucket on the floor every night like I was at the beginning of the trip, but still feeling the effects of I guess it's seasickness. It can't really be anything else, but we'll find out. At this point we're planning to stop at Neah Bay, which is the first possible place to stop once we clear Cape Flattery inside the Strait of Fuca. And we're looking forward to that. We're running low on things. Last roll. And we still have at least 10 days. At least 10 days. We also are very low on hot cocoa, which is a serious problem. Otherwise, we're doing okay. We have plenty of food. We ran the water maker for 2 hours yesterday, filled up our day tank, which is actually more like a 2-day tank. And as I said, charged up all our batteries and everything, so we're good. Everything inside the boat is pretty well saturated. The humidity is very high, but not as bad as it was. It's at least it's not raining. At least it's not raining at the moment. It hasn't rained on us for a couple of days, and we haven't had any serious fog either. Patches of sunlight that the solar panels are doing their best to collect, but they're just not able to keep up. Even though we are being very conservative with our batteries. The only thing we're really using it for is the water maker. And we're not even running our navigation lights at night too much. We ran them last night, but we have been conserving as much as possible. We don't use the cabin lights that run off the battery. We have separate battery-powered lights, and we have our little kerosene lamps, but of course we're running low of fuel for our lamps, which is our only source of heat other than brie, which is an important source of heat, and possibly meat if we run low on food. So, and I've been admiring her pelt lately, because it is a little bit chilly. Although our thermometer doesn't register a terribly low temperature in the cabin, it's chilly. I'm wearing 4 layers. I got 2 layers of silk weight capilene and 2 layers of polyester fleece on under my foul weather gear, and it's still chilly outside. So it's cool. And Laura's bundled up even more than that. But we're in good spirits, and I personally can't say that I'm enjoying this a whole lot, but you know what? It's all good. I am enjoying very much the time alone with my honey and my kitty. And I'm sure Laura feels the same way. I think we ought to get Laura to do a little bit of a log here for us on video this time. Don't you think so, Bree? Yeah. Give me the camera, honey.
As Chuck was saying, Bree's pelt is mighty fine right now. This is our little lap warmer. She has become a permanent fixture.
Part of the blanket.
Never used to do that before, ever. I pick her up with the blanket. And she makes a good little hand warmer while she's at it. She's gotten used to cold fingers on her belly, which is kind of nice.
She keeps our feet warm at night, too.
Keeps our feet warm at night, too. But, well, I'm doing a lot better than Chuck. I haven't been sick at all, which has been really... Well, I never get sick. Cast iron stomach, I've been eating very well.
Tell us what you had for breakfast this morning, honey.
Corned beef hash with bit of onion tossed in and some crackers. I ate most of it.
Fried onions and corned beef hash.
Fried onions and corned beef hash. It was hot out of the pan. That's all that mattered, is it was hot and hearty.
Washed down with coffee.
Washed down with coffee, our first cup of coffee in over a week, which... I was hoping it was going to taste a little better after a week, but it's still bad coffee. And rule number 747 or something along that line is be sure and supply the boat with decent coffee. I bought some stuff we'd never bought before, and it's just bad. So it's nothing worse than having bad coffee on board. So, sorry, Chuck. Other than that, everything's going good. Like Chuck said, it's 60 degrees in the cabin, although it feels a lot cooler right now. And Kat's coming in again, very handy for that. Sitting with a couple of fleeces and bundled in our little lap blankets here that I purchased it with.
Staring at this little screen is making me sick.
Oh, I'm sorry, hon. Okay, anyway, that's it. I guess that's all for right now. So,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye before Chuck starts.
Bye-bye, Bree.
Bye, Bree.
June 23rd. On this day in 1949, Raymond and Rachel Rose were delivered a bouncing baby boy in Burlington, Vermont. They named him Charles after Raymond's father and Frederick after Rachel's father. They always called him Chucky. Today, 58 years later, Chucky, the seasick skipper of Albin Vega 27 Lealea, celebrates his birthday with a sumptuous breakfast of blueberry pancakes and real maple syrup. Of course, it wasn't the really good maple syrup that David Isham makes at Maple Grove Farm in Williston, Vermont, but it was damn fine anyway. And now, we're sailing under reefed main and working jib towards Cape Flattery with 1,300 miles to go. The sun is shining, the breeze is fresh, I have a full belly of blueberry pancakes, and life is good. Oh, we did have a little excitement last night, yesterday. Well, yesterday, what did we do yesterday? Yesterday, light airs. We had a good progress at noon. Our noon position yesterday was well over 100 miles closer to our destination in the previous 24 hours. We were very happy about that. But there wasn't enough wind to keep the boat on course last night. We were having trouble keeping the boat on course. Laura had to go outside and get the boat on course. Earlier in the day, Laura went outside without her foul weather gear on, and a small sea decided to join her in the cockpit. She got soaked. So she was not a happy girl at all yesterday. But last night, she woke me while I was sleeping because a pod of dolphins was playing around the boat in the darkness, kicking up phosphorescence. She tells me it was quite beautiful. I, however, did not see it. Even though I poked my head out and looked around, I just didn't see it. So, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We're proceeding north. Actually, we're proceeding east-northeast towards Cape Flattery. And we will continue until we get there, probably in about 10 or 12 days. Meanwhile, we're running low on toilet paper and hot chocolate. So the situation could get grim. But we're in high spirits. June 25th. Today's log will cover day 30 and day 31 because yesterday we were too busy to record the log. On June 23rd, we celebrated my birthday and were blessed with sunny skies and relatively warm weather, and it was dry and it was nice. Very, very light air. We put up the Genoa, our biggest jib, the one we call Big Jib. But even with that, we weren't able to catch enough wind to keep the boat on course. So sundown around 8 o'clock p.m., 2000 hours, we hove to, or put the boat in a hove to position, even though there was no wind, and came below and chatted and ate chocolate and just had a nice evening down below. In the morning, the barometer had dropped dramatically, the wind had picked up dramatically, and the seas were up dramatically. Very dramatic morning. We got underway with the Genoa, but it was way too much sail. According to the GPS, we were hitting 9.6 knots at times. We took the Genoa down, put up the working jib, and we're still, averaging 7 knots plus in those conditions. We sailed on all day like that, but the boat was difficult to keep on course. At one point, a wave picked us up. I was on the helm, and I looked out over the bow. The bow was hanging out into space, and 30 feet below was the bottom of the trough of the wave. It was exhilarating. The boat's handling all this quite well. The waves, we weren't overspeeding, we weren't surfing down the waves. The waves were picking us up, pushing us forward, and then passing under us. So it wasn't really what I would call dangerous at that point. But by 1600 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we decided that it was a bit much. And we took down the working jib, put up our number 1, which is the smallest sail we have, and hove to, because it was just too much. It was too windy, the waves were too big. I won't say we were in a storm, but there was a storm close by, definitely. So hove to with our number 1 up, came below, and of course when hove to, the ride is much nicer, so it was fairly pleasant down below here. We had a nice supper. What do we have for supper?
Chili and brown rice.
Oh yeah, chili and brown rice, and nice hot stick to your ribs meal. So we came down below and had our chili and rice and got warmed up. All our clothes were wet. It took 2 of us to get the boat hove to because it was so wild. Somebody had to stay on the tiller at all times. So we were both soaked, and of course Laura had to go up on the foredeck to change the sails. So it was pretty busy evening, and we just didn't get a chance to record the log. So now we've done that, we move on to day 31, which is today. We haven't gone outside yet. It's still morning. We just finished our breakfast. Had a nice big bowl of oatmeal, and the wind has dropped quite a lot. The seas seem to have moderated, and we're probably going to have this little or no wind situation. But we have made substantial progress. We're down right around 1,200 miles from our destination, from our landfall. So when we go out and check our position and course and everything, I'm sure we'll be encouraged. Meanwhile, we have work to do. So let's get on with it. Hello, Bree. June 26th, day 32. Well, really could use a shave. Yesterday morning, after we did the log, I was checking the rigging and general checking around the foredeck and the boat. I noticed something rather disturbing. A broken strand in the forestay. One wire strand had broken on the forestay, and about 18 inches of it was sticking straight out to the side. Those of you who are sailors will understand what a problem this is. That I've got this piece of wire sticking out to the side, and the other part where it broke is also sticking out, maybe an inch or so, and it's a good 8 or 9 feet up from the deck, so you can't reach it. Couldn't do anything about it anyway if we could, except cut it off. Because it's slightly weakened, I don't really want to sail it on the jib anymore. But besides that, with that wire sticking out, if we put the jib up, we might not be able to get it back down again. It might jam on that wire, so that presents a real problem. In real terms, since our destination is downwind, we've been sailing downwind for weeks. It's not a major problem for that. We're sailing right now just fine on the mainsail alone. The problem is the boat doesn't heave too well on the main alone. Heaving to with the jib, the boat will ride nicely and drift towards our destination downwind. Last night we tried heaving to on the main. She turned around and sailed due south at 1.5 knots. So we lost a few miles ground. But the main thing is, it's kind of scary looking up there seeing that wire sticking out. We hope no other strands are compromised. The rest of the rigging looks fine. Everything else looks pretty good. We still have over 1,000 miles to go to Cape Flattery. Water maker's working fine. So, and we have probably 20 gallons of water in our tanks besides. So water's not an issue. We've got plenty of food. Food's not an issue. We're down to the last half roll of toilet paper though. That could be a problem. The last half roll of paper towels, which we run out of that, it'll be a major inconvenience. But, you know, inconveniences aside, everything's still okay. We've got plenty of everything we really need. Bree had a little accident this morning, unfortunately. So, Laura was very annoyed. But, you know, this is just minor inconveniences, minor discomforts. The big problem right now is that if we can't heave to get a couple hours extra rest at night when it gets cold, we have to keep sailing through the night and stay out in the cockpit. It's very cold at night, and I can't stay out there more than 2 hours. 2 hours I'm chilled to the bone, and Laura also. So it makes for, we've been talking about shortening up the watches. You know, of course, if you shorten it up to less than 2 hours, you're not going to get any sleep. So no sleep, too cold, fatigue. It's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. So we're going to have to work that out. We're just going to have to keep going until we get there. But, you know, we're still eating well. You know, I had a big hot steaming bowl of oatmeal and dried fruit this morning with peanut butter, and it was really good. And Chilean rice last night. We're going to have curry for lunch. Nice hot stick to your rib stuff. So, you know, we're fine in that regard. Just a little bit uncomfortable and getting a little tired because of lack of sleep and the cold, which we're not used to. Anyway, Laura's out there. She just relieved me on watch. I just made myself a cup of hot tea. And Bria's sitting here in my lap, keeping me warm. So, it's about as good as it gets out here for the time being. I still think we should have gone south, though. I'd really rather be in Tahiti, and we would have been there by now. All the way downwind, no messing around, and warm all the way. None of this getting colder and colder and colder the farther we go. That's one of the problems. It's been getting colder and colder and colder every day. And it continues to get colder, and it will continue to get colder. We still have about 5 more degrees of northing to go. 5 more degrees farther north to get to Cape Flattery. We're proceeding on a northeasterly course right now. So, I'm going to have my tea, and talk to you tomorrow. Glasses are full of water. Well, today is June 27th. My glass case is full of water. So it's June 27th. That makes it, let's see, day 33. Early this morning, perhaps 1 o'clock, wind started picking up and built to a full gale. Seas built along with it. Got really uncomfortable. As I mentioned, we can't hoist the jib, so we can't properly heave to in those conditions. This is what we normally do. It gets gnarly, we would heave to. It'd be nice and comfortable and cozy down here in the cabin. But I don't know how, haven't figured out how to heave to with just the main. As you can see, we're bouncing around a little bit. So we're sailing downwind, a little off course, making the best we can. But you know, we're not much off course. It's not a big deal. The big deal is that there's no more stopping to rest, no more heaving to and having a hot meal together. And so it's, you know, one of us has to be steering, the other one has to be resting. That's what's going on now. We're steering, I'm resting. It's just about noon. GPS is outside acquiring satellites to get our noon position. We're about 1,000 miles from Cape Flattery. Should tick over under 1,000 today, sometime into the 900s, which is very encouraging. Every time we drop a digit is very good. So we still have a long ways to go. I'm concerned about the weather. I'm hoping that we have good weather from here on in, but you know, like I said, we have a long way to go. Probably 10 days the rate we're going, it could be anywhere from 1,000 miles the rate we're going, could be anywhere from 8 or 9 days to 3 weeks. I'm ready for it to be over, to tell you the truth. I'm cold. I'm not hungry. We're eating okay. We're eating pretty good. But I'm definitely tired. And I'm tired of the weather, and I'm tired of the anxiety. Bree's not liking it much either. Yeah, Bree's not enjoying it the last couple of days. The weather's been rough, and she hasn't been too happy. Otherwise, she adapted pretty good. I mean, considering her 33 days at sea, she's got over her initial seasickness. I never quite did. But otherwise, we're in pretty good spirits. It's not, I don't feel threatened or anything like that, but, you know, concerned that we just like to be more comfortable with this. It's a very bumpy ride at the moment. If you're out in the cockpit, it's cold and wet. Seas are coming aboard. Occasional wave breaks over the boat. And everything gets soaked again. So we're uncomfortable, but we're safe. except for the forestay, the boat's okay. And we expect to get there soon, I hope.
June 28th, day 34. Our position is 45 degrees north latitude, 143 degrees west longitude. We're 922 miles from Cape Flattery. The gales have passed temporarily. We are very grateful to have calm seas and light winds, and even more grateful for the fact that the boat's been steering herself now for about 12 hours. So the crew have gotten some much needed rest, warming up and generally resting, because we needed it. We've been doing 2 hours on, 2 hours off for several days, and that gets pretty tiring after a while, hitting an hour and a half worth of sleep at a time. But we're well rested and well fed, and ticking off the miles down to 922 from our destination. The rendezvous starts tomorrow, and with 900 miles to go, I don't think we're going to make it, but that's okay. We'll be in the area for a while. We'll get to see all our friends, I'm sure. No further problems with the boat, no more damage, no more broken gear. With the waves washing over us the way they were, we got quite a bit of water running down the inside of the hull, but not so much that it's a problem. Pumping the bilge every morning, I'm getting not much more than a gallon of water out of there every day, so everything good. The water maker, we ran the water maker for a couple of hours yesterday. That little device is an amazing thing. It's a Power Survivor 40E. Seems to draw almost no electricity. It makes a gallon and a half of fresh water per hour, approximately. Less up here where the water's cold, but it makes plenty of fresh water for us, and it's been a real godsend, I'm telling you. Really glad Laura talked me into that one. It was expensive, but I'm really glad we got it. So we'll be doing more about that installation and the device itself later on. We're just resting right now. We've got to dig some stuff out of a forward locker and replenish our pantry from supplies that are stored a little deeper in the boat. Bree, as you can see, is holding up fairly well, and you know, other than being tired from the weather, we're in good spirits and good health. I know I'm looking pretty scruffy. It's getting really... I don't know, what do you think? Should I keep it? I could really use a shave, though. It'll feel really good to shave. And we're looking forward to stopping at Neah Bay. Neah Bay was not our first plan, but it is the first place where we can stop. And after doing a little research on the place in our cruising guides and charts and what have you, it looks like an interesting place. So we're looking forward to stopping at Neah Bay when we get to Cape Flattery, and maybe spend a day there before we head farther in. First place where we can check in, call Laura's mom. We are going to be overdue, so we're not going to be overdue.
I think we should be in about 42, 43 days.
42, 43 days overall? Yeah, that's probably about right. If our progress continues the way it has been, it'll be 42 or 43 days for our trip, which is a long passage for this particular trip. And we got a lot to talk about, a lot to write about, and a very interesting story to tell. So, and we have a lot of work to do on the boat when we get there. I had hoped that we would just be able to show up, party with our friends, and go cruising, but that is not going to happen. We have to get in, get the boat someplace where we can work on it, and get to work, because we got a lot to do.